Awesome. Okay. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're super excited for the 2023 US Rowing Mid-Atlantic Youth Championships taking place this weekend, and want to welcome you to the Coaches and Coxswains meeting. All right, for tonight, you'll hear from myself, the chief referee, myself and Jules Zane, the chief referee, and the LOC with Mercer Lake. A few key takeaways from this event. As I mentioned, we're super excited to welcome you all to the Coaches and Coxswains meeting tonight, and we're even more excited to have the Mid-Atlantic Youth Championships this weekend, May 13th through the 14th in West Windsor, New Jersey. So a few key takeaways for you all. First, safety both on and off the water continues to be the top priority at all US Rowing events. All teams, coaches, athletes, spectators, and other team representatives are responsible for information in the Coxswains meeting, the regatta entry packet, and any information posted on the event page. So I do want to pass it over to Jules just to quickly go over compliance.
Yeah, thank you, Reggie. I think the most important things to touch on, and I will be at the registration desk starting 1 p.m. on Friday. I think regarding compliance, the important things to double check on is that all your athletes have championship memberships. If perhaps they had an add-on package like a regatta package from last year, know that in January we switched all of those to the championship level at no additional cost, and they kept their same expiration date. So if you had athletes who got those upgrades in the fall, those should be good to go. They have to, of course, sign their waiver. And then rather importantly, new this year is that athletes who are 18 and 19 years old and who might be coming to these regattas have to go onto their profile and self-attest whether or not they have to take safe sport training. They are legally adults if they are rowing with minors. And in this, in most cases, I'm sure they are. If you have 17 and 16-year-olds on the team as well, they have to take the training. There's a questionnaire on their profile that they can access from our database when they log on. They have to answer the questions. It will tell them whether to take training or not. And if the answer is yes, which training that is. We saw at last weekend's regattas that was quite a hang up for some of the remaining non-compliant athletes. In some cases, it was people simply not having done the self-attestation or having misunderstood what training it needed to be. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out ahead of the regatta. And you'll see in the compliance emails that have been going out whether or not self-attestation is one of the reasons they're showing up as non-compliant. But we'll be able to assist on site. Membership and waiver is a little easier than having someone go through the training if it's the morning of racing or the afternoon before. So I would say that for everyone that should probably be a key focus.
Yep. Thank you, Jules. And last but not least, please remember to have fun this weekend. So quick introductions here. If I have not met you, my name is Reggie Robinson and I'm the competition coordinator. Jules Zane, as mentioned, is the director of member services and the referee programming. Chris and Hillary are with Mercer Lake, and Bruce and Larry are the chief and deputy chief referees for this weekend. So a quick review of registration and the venue schedule. So the trailer arrival window will be Friday, May 12th from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. US Rowing registration tent will be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, the tent will be open from 2 to 6 p.m. On Saturday and Sunday, the tent will be open from 6:30 a.m. to the end of racing. And on Friday, practice will be from 3 to 6 p.m. with the last launch taking place on 5:30. And the race schedule is live, and a link to it will be posted on Regatta Central tomorrow, as well as an email going out with the link will be sent to all coaches tomorrow. Seating as well will be sent out later this week. Your pre-arrival checklist. So just a few things to check off before you arrive on site this weekend. Have you reviewed the US Rowing Code of Conduct? Have you reviewed the event entry packet? Are all your athletes up to date on their US Rowing memberships? Again, Jules Zane would be a point of contact there if you do have any questions regarding compliance. Are your athletes, coaches, support staff safe sport compliant? Are your coaches and support staff on the Regatta Central roster? So if you do go to the event page on Regatta Central, on the left side under registration, you can select safe sport, and that's where you can add your coaches and support staff. And lastly, have you paid your team entry fees? So if you have not already received your invoice, you will receive that on Thursday after lineups have closed. And you'll receive that directly from Regatta Central. So now I'm going to pass it over to Bruce, who is the chief referee, to review his items.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Stoke. I am the chief referee, along with my friend Larry Edwards as the deputy chief. First, I'd like to say thank you to everybody at the PNRIA and USRowing. Without them, this couldn't happen. So we should be very appreciative of them. Good attendance this year, similar to last year. We've assembled a great group of referees. Many are very experienced and also know the venue well and have also refereed this regatta before. So, but for us, the role of the referee is safety and fairness. Control Commission. For teams that are not familiar with Mercer, make sure that each crew understands the traffic pattern. A map of the traffic pattern is at Regatta Central and would be posted at the USRowing tent. The course is fully buoyed. There will be 2 launch docks. Towards the launch docks will be towards the start line, and 2 recovery docks closest to the gazebo. Coxswains should know their race number and their start time before they come to the control. We will be checking for wristbands, bow numbers, bow balls, and shoe heel ties, and that will have no more than 3 inches. A rower will not be able to launch without a wristband. Crews should be performing their own safety checks at the trailer before arriving at control. Too often we find the simplest things that could have taken seconds at the trailer and in turn take minutes and hold everything up. And it just stresses out the crews as well. So do what you can there at the trailer. We want a minimum number of team members near the docks. It gets very crowded there. So if you're going to cheer them on, do it at the trailer and leave the launch area open as possible. You're not allowed on the docks unless you're bringing oars or taking shoes, something important like that. Make sure that you have the bow numbers attached firmly to the shell, whether you tape them on or whatever. Too often we lose those during launch or during their warm-up, and then when they get to the start, then we've got to deal with it then. A crew has 1 minute to get on and off the dock because we're launching a number of boats, and at certain times it's very crowded there. So if we keep that in mind, it'll help everybody. For teams that want to warm up, launch 45 minutes before the published time. It's a responsibility of the crew to plan their warm-up and time on the water. This has got to be the largest issue we have, is that we either launch too early or too late, and the crews are confused out there about how long it takes. If they do become confused, have them ask a referee or have them try to figure it out the best they can. We don't want them to be late, but we also don't want them to sit out there and not have ample amount of warm-up time. Hot seating is allowed. If a crew is hot seating, and I mean replacing the crew in the same boat, a coach must tell the head referee at the Control Commission 15 minutes prior to launching what that crew is replacing, which crew on the water. And then the complete outbound crew will be waiting at the recovery dock and will exchange the boat there at the recovery dock. It is imperative that the correct bow number be placed on the boat and a referee logs in the departure time. The switch should be completed in less than 3 minutes. And I see it can definitely be done in that amount of time if prepared ahead of time. And once again, just make sure the bow numbers are the one for the outgoing crew versus the incoming. Marshalling area. Once launched, you're going to go out and come around to the port side, and you're going to travel past the pinch point, we call it, where you'll meet the first of 3 referees. They will check you in and may have you proceed on to the warm-up area. The warm-up area is a line, 2 lines parallel with the race course. It is the first line is 300 meters long with a break. Then there's a second 200-meter buoy line to the start. Between those, there is a break. So you'll see at either end of the warm-up area, there'll be large yellow buoys. In the center in the break, there will be 2 red buoys. There will be crews will travel in a clockwise direction around the buoys and around the warm-up, always keeping them on their starboard side. Now, crews have a tendency to go wide in those areas and stuff. We want to keep them as close to the buoyed lines as possible. There's plenty of room for many crews. There'll be a second referee in the break point, and at that point, they'll assess the time you have left into your race, and then in turn, they will decide whether to let you continue on with your warm-up, or at that time, will place you in preparation of a race. Then the third marshal will, once given the permission by the starter, then will load you from the end of the warm-up area at that point. The large area, this is labeled no regatta traffic. We won't come and chase you down in that area. We will do our best to have you hear us, but quite often if there's a wind and you're over in this back corner of it, you will not be able to hear either our megaphones or the announcement from the starters platform. So there is a possibility you will be late or will miss your race. So we don't want that to happen by no means. Time trials will, on Saturday morning, will be 1,900 meters. You'll come around the start platform. At that point, there will be a referee on the platform. They will be putting you in the designated lanes. The lanes will be decided on the morning of the regatta. On this, it says that on the sheets we have for the traffic patterns, it says 2 and 3. It may be 3 and 4, but it works the same way. If you are on even bow number, you will be in the even lane. If you're an odd bow number, you will be in the odd lane. If you, let's use for example, if you are in lane 4 and 5, if you are to be, if a boat approaches you within 1 boat length, you are required to move from 4 to 3. If you are in 5, you're required to move to 5, from 5 to 6. If that is not done, then in turn you will be assessed a penalty, a time penalty, and so we don't want to have that happen. Each lane, they will start you in alternate lanes. So a boat will start in, say, lane 4. 20 seconds later, a boat will be started in lane 5, and then back to 20 seconds later, back to 4 and 5, and so on. So it's 20 seconds in the adjoining lane and 40 seconds in your lane. You are starting right in front of the starters platform. You will have approximately 100 meters, a chute that will go down through there. As you approach the start, they will call your name, the name, either your personal name, if in a single, or your school name, if in a boat larger than a single. They will then time it so the starter will say, ready, ready, go. And when he says go, your time will start. Too often we have it where a crew will start to hear an announcement, and for some reason will stop prior to the start of the time. So we don't want to have that happen. So remind your coxswains and your crew members of that. If a crew is late for the time trials, we will put them in the rear of that flight. If we start the next flight without them being there, then they will be excluded from the time trials. Heats and finals, and I'm sorry this is taking so long, but want everybody to know everything. You'll be starting from the fingers. We may be utilizing all 7 lanes. We will be running most races on a 7-minute center for the heats, semis, and finals. Please make sure that your crews are able to back into the stake boat holder. That, as you know, is just an individual laying there doing their best to hold on and catch the crew. So they need to do their best to get locked on. Once they're locked on, they need to understand how to scull their boat to keep their point. Too often, crews will try to row and they'll break the grasp of the stake boat holder and will have to try to get locked on. If that happens too often and at the discretion of the starter, they may be excluded, okay? So we don't want that to happen as well. They must, for the racing, they must be there 2 minutes prior to the published time. If they are not there 2 minutes before the published time, they will be given a warning. And if they are not there by the published time, then in turn, at the starter's discretion, they'll be excluded. We are not holding a race for anybody. Even if we see you on your way, if the race 2-minute warning has begun, we can start the race anytime after the 2-minute warning has been announced. So in turn, you don't want to be late for that, and you sure don't want to be late for your published time because you won't get a row. We have a really tight schedule. I've tried to condense it as much as possible, so we don't have time to wait for crews for any reason, whether they're hot seating or, and always assume, even if we have weather, even if you've heard something, go ahead and assume that we'll be running on time, okay? Unless officially notified, please assume races will be running on time. Make sure they launch in enough time to get there and be ready at that time. We'll be using a light system starting at for the 2,000-meter races. Please instruct your crews, because a lot of them haven't ever used it before or seen it before. And we will announce the crew's names. And at that time, let me say something else. At that time, we always have a confusion that Coxswains will be throwing up hands because someone's sculling around. We're gonna do our best to make sure that it is a safe start, and in turn, you are ready for your start. But keep in mind, we can only do so much, and hands may not be recognized that late in the start, okay? They'll announce attention. A red light gets turned on, which would be the same as if the starter's raising the red flag, you know, like we do up in the tower. After a brief pause, a green light turns on and a horn will sound to signal the start of the race, which would be the same as the starter announcing go and dropping the red flag at their side. So it has all the same cadence, just a little different. You won't see a flag, and there will be no go heard, okay? If for some reason the system is not operable, the starter will use the conventional starting commands and will go to a PA system or the megaphone. So just because it's not working doesn't mean it's going to slow down our racing. Broken equipment. Well, let me say one more thing. We all know how weather can be at Mercer. So in turn, if the starter feels it is necessary, they will switch up immediately and go to a quick start. So there will be an announcement that we'll be going to a quick start. They'll say quick start, attention, go. So please instruct your crews how a quick start works as well. Broken equipment. Any crew suffering broken equipment either before the race or during the first 100 meters of the race, they should notify the closest referee. And there's going to be some all over the place there. And they'll be allotted 15 minutes from the time to fix the problem. We will run other races and run their race and restart their race within 15 minutes. If they haven't been able to fix it in that time period, they will be excluded. There won't be any exceptions. So get with the referee. Many times as a start marshal, I have helped crews, but we can only do what we can do out on the water. And it might be the case that we're able to contact your coach and do something in that 15 minutes, but that's always the time you have. I'll let the LOC talk a little bit more about the evacuations in case we have thunder and lightning and all the things like that. I talked a little bit about the coaches and giving instructions to your kids and being able to back into a stake boat and being able to scull around. The starter will do their best to do that. But if a crew hasn't ever encountered that or has done it very little, in turn, it is very difficult for a starter to give them their first lesson while trying to back on and stay on a stake boat. When finishing, make sure that each crew understands the official finish of the race and rows through the finish in place to place that they can safely stop their boat. You'd be surprised how many boats stop before the end of the race course. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but it's better to have them row through it and then get far enough out of the way to stop that is in a safe place. Objections. A crew can only object to the what happens in the start in the first 100 meters at that time. If they didn't feel like they got a fair start or something interfered with them or something, they should just stop rowing. And at that time, a referee will come to them, assess what the issue is, and will decide how to satisfied or how to do it, and then they'll start the race again if possible with that crew. And at the end of a race, if you have an issue, an objection of any kind, then you need to raise your hand and have the responsible person in that boat raise it, either the coxswain or the responsible other person. And they should raise it immediately, because once the referee following the race shows the white flag to the crews with no hand shown, and then shows it to the finish, that race is officially completed and their objections will not be heard. Okay. Almost finished, I promise. Medical. LOC, Chris and Hillary are going to talk about the medical and where it is. So I won't go into that. But keep in mind that the referees are out there for everyone's safety. And that's very, very important to us. So if for some reason somebody's feeling ill, something has happened to somebody, or someone is taken from the boat or ejected from the boat, then in turn, we need to get there as soon as possible. Throw up a hand, yell, scream, whatever you have to do, but get our attention so we can handle it, okay? We look forward to a couple good days of racing. If you have any questions, I'm going to do something crazy, but I'm going to give you my email address. And if you wish to ask me a question, then by all means you can do it. My email address is doak, DOAKFARM, doakfarm@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Just a quick note of the unsportsmanlike conduct. Among other things, profanity in general are not considered sportsmanlike, even when used to motivate. They should never be directed at another crew. Unsportsmanlike conduct is grounds for exclusion. All right, now I'm going to pass it off to Chris and Hillary with Mercer Lake.
Thank you, Reggie. On behalf of PNRA and Mercer County Park, we look forward to welcoming everybody to Mercer Lake for the regional championships. We are looking forward to a great weekend of racing. For your information, we will have EMTs on site for both Saturday and Sunday. They will be located halfway between the spectator area and the boat storage area next to the boat ramp. If you have any medical or those type of emergencies, please contact them and they will be happy to help you. If you need something on an emergency basis, contact one of the referees or one of the volunteers who are there, and they will help to arrange that and get somebody to you. The weather forecast for this weekend is for possible rain on Saturday and Sunday, more on Saturday right now, with low winds. No thunderstorms are in the forecast, but weather, as we all know, can change, especially over the next 4 or 5 days. In the case that we do have bad weather come in, or we need to clear the water for an emergency, the referees on the water will tell you to come back in. At that point, when we have an emergency, all boats launching will be stopped and all docks will become inbound return recovery docks. So they will be open for all boats. Ideally, we would like you to go to the same docks that you launched from so that your coaches can account for you. However, in the case of an extreme emergency, we will send you to either the docks on the park side or on the Casperson rowing side to get you off the water as quick as possible. In the case that we do have a thunderstorm come in, please note that standing under a pop-up tent or under the trees is not a safe place to be. you need to get into a vehicle or into a solid structure that will protect you from the lightning. I will now let Hillary take over as to the logistics of the venue.
Thanks, Chris. This is a map of the venue. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the venue. Just want to go over a little bit of parking and where to plan to park. The paved lot next to boat storage is for tow vehicles and team vans. And if there are, if that runs out, if you run out of space, then West Picnic, which is where it says team van parking over on the left-hand side, that's West Picnic, and coaches can park there, team vans can park there. If there are any buses that are coming, I don't know if anybody has buses, but there's team bus parking across from the spectator parking field. And buses should not pull into the Boathouse Marina area. Buses should drop athletes off at the athlete drop off and pickup area right there, and then loop around to park in the team bus. Spectator parking is
also any parents that are dropping off athletes should drop them off at the athlete drop off area alongside the road.
Yeah, so only coaches, team vans should be going into the Boathouse Marina area for parking. Spectators all need to park in the brown shaded spectator parking, and it is $10 a day for parking. If there's any situation where there's West Picnic and the boat storage lots are full and coaches find themselves without a place to park, you can park in spectator parking and let the volunteers know that you are a coach. But we hope that there will be enough spots next to the boat trailer area. There is handicap parking, and we have a new addition to the park, which is a ropes course, and it is along the gravel path down towards the finish line, opposite where it says food trailer parking. There's a ropes course, and so we have condensed our parking, and the chuck wagons that are coming will now need to park on the right-hand side of that gravel path down to the finish line area. And that's where previously in previous regattas, that's where handicap parking was. So chuck wagons will park on the right-hand side of the gravel path, and handicap parking will be the front row of the spectator parking field. We will have golf carts to assist parents and teams who have team tents. If you have not registered for a team tent, please do so. We won't be staking out spots for teams that have not registered. So please make sure that you have registered for a team tent, and that will be up on Thursday. It'll be staked out on Thursday. So please do that prior to Thursday. And then just one last plug for teams that still might need to volunteer. We have some spots available. Saturday's looking pretty good, but Sunday could definitely use some stake boat holders and a few other spots. So you can check the regatta or the volunteer sign up link, which is on Regatta Central, if you still need to fulfill your volunteer hours. And I think that's it for me.
Yep, just one last note here. Safety on the venue for medical aid. Medical will be located near the boat ramp by the marina. If medical is needed on the water, flag down the nearest official for assistance. Great, and that's it for there. And I want to thank you, Hillary, and
Reggie, real quick, what about the medals and the awards?
Let me go back to the venue. I'll just touch on it. Yep, so we will have awards will be rolling throughout the day. So on Sunday, after you finish your final, if you placed, then you will be able to go directly to the award stage and pick up your medal there. We will have a USRowing staff member or intern located there throughout the day. So you can send a coach or an athlete from the boat to pick up the medals there. Also, while we're on the topic too, we do for youth nationals bids, we do have a new bid process this year. You do not have to wait for a email from USRowing. After races have concluded, you can go directly on Regatta Central and submit your application. If you're submitting a petition, there is a form that you will need to fill out, but you can still also automatically go to Regatta Central and fill out an application while your petition is pending. So that just speeds up the bid process there. And if you do have any questions regarding that new process, please feel free to shoot me an email at redv.robinson@usrowing.org. Chris, Hillary, Bruce, Jules, Larry, are there any last things that you want to touch on before we close here?
Just to clarify, Reggie, the award stage is going to be near the finish tower.
Yep.
So that's where you can go to get your medals and have your pictures and celebrate the victories.
Yep. And we will have a USRowing backdrop there too as well. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email at reggie.robinson@usrowing.org. Otherwise, good luck this weekend. Thank you all.